14. It's the Atlanta Falcons coming to Charlotte to play the Carolina Panthers. Before we get into today's content, folks, make sure you're subscribed. Pound that like button. Hit that bell notification. Be notified of future videos like these on the Carolina Panthers. And by all means, folks, love some comments. It's hate week again. It's the Atlanta Falcons. All right, folks. Kind of wanted to dive in. Been a little under the weather. And, the big topic, I guess, lately has been the firing of Joe Brady. I think he was in over his head. He definitely regressed from last year. He had to pick it up. We tried to kind of gave him, we gave him a pass last year since it's the first year. The numbers look good, for Bridgewater with the three-headed monster receiver. CMC did get hurt, but he never really opened up the playbook. And now when you're starting to look at, we got week 14 here, 15 against Buffalo, 16 Tampa, 17, I guess that's going to be New Orleans, and then 18 finishing with Tampa. 5 games left. We've gotten a dose of a bye week and 12 games. And offensively in the second half, it ain't cutting it. Sometimes we've been shut out. Sometimes we've mustered maybe one score. But it's been pretty much pathetic. And just these halftime adjustments. I don't know if Rule can pull a rabbit out of his hat or, having somebody else as an offensive coordinator is going to do anything different. But offensively speaking, we've struggled. With no CMC now, you got a Cam who's trying to pick up the offense, and he's struggled, and he's not the same. And, with Sam Darnold's on the shelf, the receivers, they kind of look lethargic. The Lions' play has been a little better at times, but at the same time, they still do suck. We're going to have to get a heavy dose of a run game with the backup running backs like Chuba Hubbard and Amir Abdullah. But, folks, we've got to do something. Now, this game against Atlanta, I want to say one thing. A lot of people say, let's go ahead and lose out. Let's get a high draft pick. Doesn't always pay out. You say, well, we were 5-11 last year, where we ended up picking 8th, and we missed out on some quarterbacks. We could have still took a quarterback. I'm kind of glad that we didn't. I think the man would have been under pressure. Who would have ever been Mac Jones, as good as he looked in New England, he fits that system. I don't think it would have happened here. The coaching parameters are in place in New England for what they're looking for. They're not really there yet. We've got to have a quarterback who really can excel, like when we first got Cam, a guy who's athletic and his ability can will a team to win. I also look at the fact the offensive line would have helped Rashawn Slater. However, you never know. And I'm not really upset with the J.C. Horn pick because before he got hurt, we were in the game he got hurt in. We ended up going 3-0. His shutdown corner status was very high and very good for us. So when it doesn't look like Dante Jackson's coming back, still the jury's out on Stephon Gilmore if we can bring him in. But we've got to keep some of this other young talent together in the secondary. And I would, myself, folks, move Chin back to linebacker. I wanted him at safety. I just think we're not utilizing the skill set. And that's just from what I've seen on the field, other than opinion. But our defensive lines and defensive ends have really got to get after it. We've got to do what we can do. Now, looking at this game in Atlanta, one thing I want to let you know, we need to win it because it's a rivalry game. And I think they've beaten us, I think it's 33 times, so we've beaten them 20. So they got a 13-game edge on us, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing I want to really focus on against Atlanta, go back in our history. We've only swept Atlanta 3 times in 27 years. Dom Capers did it the 3rd year of his regime before he was fired the next year. That was back in 1997. John Fox actually did it, and I wrote down the year was 2005. He swept Atlanta. And Ron Rivera did it in 2013. I believe that's the year that we went, if I'm not mistaken, started out 1-3 and then turned it on where we ended up going 11-1 the rest of the way. So I think we kind of caught Atlanta at the right time. But that's the last time. It's been 8 years since we've swept Atlanta. And Matt Rule could join that company and it would be very impressive if he could sweep Atlanta. Now, in saying that, we haven't had a coach to do it twice. So if Rule does somehow magically survive this season and gets another chance. And we've actually never beaten Atlanta 3 times in a row, I don't believe. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think we ever have. Maybe we have, I'm not sure, but it's been no more than that. But as far as sweeping Atlanta, it's very rare. We need to take advantage, especially being in the tie with Atlanta and New Orleans for second place. Folks, even if we end up finishing this year at 8-9 and 9-8, in my opinion, you're in the middle of the pack. Our draft pick's not going to be top 10 if we do that. But there's going to be some talent we can draft where we're at. But wouldn't it be nice to finish second in a division that if Tom Brady doesn't cherry pick Tampa, it's a weak division right now. But maybe we can come out on top with some of our youth. But the defense has to step up. And like I said, if we can end up finishing second in division, it is something to grow on. You know, it really is. Whether it be 8-9 and 9-8, we got to try to sweep New Orleans and sweep Atlanta. Doesn't happen often. And even if we can just manage to split with Tampa, I think a successful season in the division is out of division that's killed us. NFC East and really the AFC as well, the AFC East. But there's 2 things you got to look for in the Atlanta game. You know, Atlanta doesn't have the receiving core they had. Of course, they've got their freak of a tight end who they drafted this year from Florida, Kyle Pitts. And they got Matt Ryan, who's always been a thorn in her ass. You know, and they're always ready to play. And they got Cordero Patterson. He's been quite impressive with them, you know, playing running back, receiver, whatever they need him to do, special teams. But here's what I'm thinking. I really look toward defense for this game. Because if they can get to Matt Ryan, if they can shake him up, if they can cause some turnovers, if they can not get pounded on the ground, if we find a way, there's 2 things, and it's pretty obvious almost every game. We've got to win the battle of turnovers. We cannot have our offense go out and make it easy for Atlanta, like we did with Miami with a block punt, like the interceptions that were thrown by Cam. We've got to limit the turnovers to 1 or none. And we've got to force Atlanta into 1 or 2 or more turnovers. We win the turnover battle. That's half the battle. The other thing is time of possession. We need to keep our offense on the field and drive, sustaining drives, keep the defense off the field, and get Atlanta's offense off the field. If we can control the time of possession and we can win the turnover battle, we'll win the game. Now, offensively, it's been pretty weak. Doesn't look like we're going to have a great running game because CMC's not there. Still worry about these receivers being a little lethargic. They need to make their money. They need to win. How well is Cam going to play? But it is against Atlanta. That's his hometown team. You know he's going to want to win. Got to find a way to win this game. And you know Matt Ryan hates us. And he loves to beat us. We've got to find a way to beat him. We've got to find a way to sweep it. Remember, in this franchise history, the 3 times that we have swept Atlanta, 2 of those times was pre Matt Ryan. He's only been swept by Carolina once in his career. Ron Rivera in 2013. That's it. So it's something special to be able to sweep him. Because every year he comes out smug-faced, Matt Ryan, get the F off our field. He's either swept us or he's at least managed a split. So to sweep Atlanta and then go on in a few weeks and probably maybe try to sweep New Orleans would be so good. If you've got to win games, you want to win your division games, folks, because you're putting them down and you're elevating yourself. That's going to be key. So we've got to have Cam in the running game. We've got to have some of this read option. We've got to have some timely passes. We can't turn it over. We've got to sustain drives. We've got to score. And our defense really has to ball out. It's got to sack Matt Ryan. It's got to try to create a turnover or 2, whether it be interceptions or fumbles. We've got to limit Atlanta from driving and scoring. Like I said, if we lose the game, well, you know, you're almost hanging by a thread with our playoff hopes. But if we win the game, we're kind of killing Atlanta's playoff hopes. We're elevating our status. And we can sit back and hope New Orleans will lose. It's worth a gamble, folks. Like I said, we're not out of the playoffs, but we got to string some victories together, and it starts here in Atlanta. If we beat Atlanta at home, we could have run on Buffalo, which is a daunting task. But I haven't really been as impressed with Buffalo lately as yet, but they might turn it back on against us. But then we got Tampa twice and New Orleans. And that's going to be the key. That's going to be the tough. This is when Brady turns it up, and you know Sean Payton's going to want to beat us in New Orleans. But Atlanta is the key. It would be so nice to sweep the Falcons. It's a rivalry, and we need to make that rivalry series a little bit closer. So what do you folks think on today's video? And lest I forget, I'm giving Carolina a 24-20 victory. Make sure you make some comments. I love the dialogue. Pound that like button. Hit that bell notification to be notified of future videos like this on the Panthers. And hey, folks, by all means, it's free. Subscribe. I will see you on another episode of Carolina Sports Guy.